Hello and welcome back to part two of the ranking of Disney movies from the 1950s and 60s. As you can see on the screen, our first video we did Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Lady and the Tramp and Peter Pan. And in this video I'll be adding Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, The Sword and the Stone and The Jungle Book to the tier list. So without further ado, let's go for it. Okay, so we are starting this video, as I said, with Sleeping Beauty. So what can we say about Sleeping Beauty? Obviously, she was the third of the Disney princesses. She has a great name, Aurora. I just love the name, so I thought I'd just throw that one in there for you. But as per usual, let's stick with the cons from the start. She is by far the weakest of the Disney princesses. She doesn't have to do anything in particular. She doesn't, not like Snow White, where she goes off and she has to be brave on her own at the age of 14. Sleeping Beauty's older than that. I say that, I think she's supposed to be 16 or something, but still. And she has 19 lines in the whole film. 19 lines for a lead character, which apparently is the least number of lines for a lead character in a Disney film, if you exclude Dumbo, bearing in mind that Dumbo had no lines whatsoever because he was mute, basically. But I think this easily makes her the weakest princess. She doesn't really do anything. I mean, she's literally waiting for a prince to come and save her, so otherwise her life's perfectly fine. I mean, she's already a princess. Her parents love her. She has a mother, so there's already a lot of pluses for her. So she has got a very, very simple, straightforward life if you exclude the fact that she was cursed by Maleficent. But otherwise, as soon as that was sorted, she was going to be fine. So basically, they're the negatives of the film. I can't really think of any other negatives to it. Obviously, there's the whole thing of, she makes the stupid decision if she meets this one guy and then decides she's in love with him straight away, which seems to be a common theme amongst Disney princesses. And she makes some stupid decisions, but quite frankly, as I said, I think she's 16, so we can probably let her off those bad decisions. And obviously, ultimately, it was Prince Philip who she's betrothed to anyway. So yay, glad they got on. So the pros. The three fairies, I think, are brilliant. The entire scene with the trying to make the dress and the cake, hilarious. One of the best scenes in a Disney film. I think a lot of people would probably agree to that being a very strong scene in that film. It's great fun. I remember really, really enjoying it as a child. Just generally, I mean, Merryweather's ability to be sort of stuffy little thing that just wants her own way and is very annoyed by the fact that Flora always takes control. It's very much like Three Sisters. I think they are supposed to be sisters, aren't they? It is very much the case all the time. The middle one just sort of stays out of it and doesn't really get involved too much. The older one is bossy and the little one wants to be in control and resents the oldest one for being in control all the time and being the leader. So that's always pretty good. Another good scene in that film, which I never know whether other people like the scene as much as I do, but the bit where Prince Stefan and King Stefan and King Hubert, Aurora's dad and Philip's dad, are basically getting drunk as they get towards the point where they know for well she's going to be her 16th birthday and the spell will be, we'll go through all of that and she'll be fine and they'll get her back, and they're all excited about the impending marriage between their two children and the linking of their two kingdoms. And they basically get drunk and then randomly, I think Hubert just takes something entirely the wrong way and starts attacking Stefan with a fish. And again, I'm sure that's one of these scenes I used to whiz back as a child. It's just brilliant. Not to mention the, what's it called? The minstrel with the guitar, or the lute, I should say, basically constantly treating himself to more and more wine to the point where he gets completely and utterly drunk off his face, basically. I was going to use different words there, but, gazeboed. He got completely gazeboed, if we're going to go Michael McIntyre ways of explaining drunkenness. Absolutely trashed, and it's just a really, really brilliant comedy scene. Another good thing of the film is I think Maleficent is a great villain. Obviously, hence the fact that she had her entire own 2 films of live actions based on her and her backstory, which was good. But I mean, yeah, she's a good villain in the sense of that she's does something truly evil, but her reasonings for doing it in this film in itself are stupid. Basically, she didn't get invited to a party and so she cursed a baby to death. Oh my God, just invite her to the party next time, guys. Clearly, she's very, very precious about, she's got one hell of a lot of FOMO. So, you know, just invite her to the party. But I just think in general, she's a great villain. So I think a plus point is definitely Maleficent. And finally, I'm going to say Prince Philip as a prince. I think he's actually one of the stronger princes. The fact, well, definitely, by the fact that he goes through so much to save Aurora, you know, all the thorns and the dragon and all the other things he has to go through. And obviously with the help of the three fairies, but he's still doing it the whole time. He's still fighting for his love and to save her and rescue her. And it's very gallant. It's very very brave, very heroic of him. And, you know, that's the style of the film. It is a princess hero type film. And I think of all the princes, I think Philip is definitely one of the strongest ones. So where on those points do we put this film? And I'm just going to check where I actually put it, to be honest with you. And also I realised I was just entirely on the wrong screen when I can't, funny enough, I can't actually move the things on Canva if I'm not physically in Canva. So now I'm physically in Canva. So, I am going to say, and I know you're expecting me to put this in at the S tier, I don't think, as much as I love it, I don't think it's as strong a film as Cinderella and Snow White. However, it's still one of my favourite Disney films. I really, really love it. So the fact I don't think it's quite as good means it is going in at the A tier. So there we go. Sleeping Beauty, A tier. Oh, that's really bugging me. I think maybe I got the wrong sizes or something there and they're not quite lining up. Oh, triggering. Sorry for anybody else who gets that sort of easily triggered by things like I do. They're not lining up and I don't know how I feel about it. So, on to our next film, 101 Dalmatians. So, a load of dogs. Always going to be a plus point for me, being a big, not just dog lover, but animal lover in general. However, when you compare it to Lady and the Tramp, it's not even close to as strong as those films, in my opinion. I'm really sorry, but it's just not. There are a few particular scenes that I just think kind of drag and let the film down a bit. For example, I think, is it the dog telegraph? I've only seen it a few times, this film, and it's because I don't really enjoy it that much, if I'm honest with you. The bit where they're barking, one dog's like barking, it's barking a message to the other dog, and then the other dog somewhere else in the city is barking it to another dog before, you know, it gets to, I think, the farm with the horse and the cat and the dog, which obviously help save the puppies. That goes on for ages. It's like, okay, we get it. This is how they communicate. Very cool. But oh my God, that drags that scene. And I think it drags the film down, if I'm honest with you. I've said it before in other films. I don't like the villains constantly smoking or any of the characters constantly smoking. Obviously, Cruella de Vil does that. However, as I said, she is the villain. So, I mean, in her case, she's supposed to be this fashionable, chic, skinny woman. And the smoking's obviously all part of that image. You know, the smoking back in the day was one of those things to help keep you skinny. And my God, did it work with her. The name Cruella de Vil, I don't think she was ever going to be good, was she? But then I'll leave my husband's blog and then our future video of reviewing the film together for him to raise that point. So I don't want to go too much into it. But, and then finally, one of the really, really negative points of the film for me is the villains are doing something truly freaking awful. They are trying to get a load of dogs from various different owners just to kill them and skin them so that a woman can wear a coat. I mean, that's freaking awful. Not as bad as enslaving children to become slave donkeys, but it's a really, really awful one to do. It's full on stealing, it's animal cruelty, it's animal murder, and it's horrendous. But they never really get a comeuppance. I think, doesn't their car crash in the snow or something? That's not a comeuppance. That's just a car crashing in the snow. They just didn't get what they wanted to do. There's no comeuppance for their actions. So by that, the villain's comeuppance was so terrible in this film. I mean, prior to that, we had Maleficent, who died. You know, she got the sword through the dagger through the heart. And then trying to look, I'm just looking at the other ones here. Alice in Wonderland, that was around Cinderella. I mean, not a huge amount happens to Lady Tremaine in the film, but the original story, like her and the Ugly Sisters get their eyes pecked out by birds, which is pretty horrific. They lose their slave, basically, so that's pretty big comeuppance. Not huge comeuppance for what they've done to Cinderella, but I'm sure, in the situation. No, she's too nice. She probably wouldn't have done anything. But obviously, again, Snow White, the witch dies. She falls off a cliff and then gets killed by a boulder if she wasn't already dead. I'm trying to think of the other ones. In Dumbo, again, nothing really happens. Oh my God, Disney, sort it out. So, yeah, there is a big issue going through all the films here. So many of them not having a lot of comeuppance. Unless it's one specific villain who's seen as a villain. Like the donkey slave guy, nothing ever comes of him. Dumbo, again, although I did mention it in the Dumbo review, didn't I, really, that the other elephants don't really get some comeuppance. Actually, they end up doing pretty well out of it. Just going through the films in general, yeah, there's not a huge amount of comeuppance in these films. But yeah, big criticism of 101 Dalmatians. So, with that in mind, let's go on to the pros, because there are still pros. It's still an all right film. It's not a terrible film. It's still one I'd recommend people see as part of their Disney journey. I'm not going to say watch all of them as part of your Disney journey, but, you know, it's in the golden age of films, so there's got to be some good things. Obviously, the biggest thing is that it's 101 dogs, not to mention 99 puppies, but particularly 15 puppies. I'm just trying to think back to the bit where she thinks that they think that Lucky's died. 15, 14, we lost one. Yeah, 15 puppies, which is great. And anything with that many puppies in, I'm going to love. Also, on that note, the scene where they think Lucky's dead, and then Pongo goes up and like sniffs him with his nose, and then his little, I mean, I suppose it isn't him, is it? It's Roger rubbing him in his hands to warm him up and trying to get his heart beating again is the thing that brings him back to life, you know, resuscitates him. But Pongo, with the bit where he puts his nose up to the blanket to sniff him, and then little Lucky's nose comes out the blanket, and he's so dinky, and I love that bit. It's so cute. So that's a bit, it's quite a teary bit, but a happy teary bit. I do like the bit where the puppies are watching the advert on TV, or just generally the TV in general, but that crunchy dog food, Canine Crunchies, I think it's called. That's cute. The fact that Rolly is constantly hungry, I find really funny. There's one in every litter, and it was my dog in the litter he was in. He was the chunky dog. He's not so chunky now. He's a perfectly normal sized working Cocker Spaniel, but, you know, he was a little chunky boy. And then finally, on the positive bits of the film, actually, no. I'm going to add another one in, but one of the good parts of the film, and really memorable parts, is when Roger and Anita first meet, and obviously Pongo and Purdy meet as well. And they do that whole thing with the leads, where the leads get caught around each other. And when I'm taking Loki out for a walk, and he does that with another dog and he's on the lead, I always refer to it to the, oh, they're doing the 101 Dalmatians thing. So, yeah, I particularly love that. It's a particularly memorable scene for me, and I like that. I think it's really cute that, you know, love at first sight for the humans and the dogs. Really cute. And then finally, I love the ending. I love the fact that, and I don't know, I can't remember if it's in the animated one, I think it is, but obviously his songs become really popular. So I know in the live action film, it's this computer game becomes really, really popular, but they end up with all these puppies on this, you know, the puppies are all really safe at the end and all loved and live in this big house and get looked after well. I'm not sure how you could look after that many dogs that well, but still, it's cute. So, I said, not my favourite of the films, and I'm just going back through some of the other films and which one I would put it on the same level as, and I think I put it on the same level as Salidos Amigos, so I put it on the C tier. If you disagree, then by all means comment below, let me know why you think the film deserves to be higher up on the list, or, you know, same with any of the other films, whether you think they should be higher, should be lower, just let me know in the comments. It's always nice to read people's comments. I actually really love seeing people's comments. It's really fun for me. So, Sword in the Stone. I remember this film as a child very fondly. This was the one I used to watch one hell of a lot. Would I watch it a lot now? Probably no, probably not as much, but I did really, really like it as a kid. It was really enjoyable, some really, really funny scenes in it. And I'm just going to dive straight in with the cons on the film. So I think one of the biggest cons comes right at the end of the film. We go through this entire development of Wart, or Arthur as he actually is, developing. Obviously, Merlin's seen, they have this prophecy that he's going to do great things. But then when it actually comes down to it, and he pulls the sword from the stone, he doesn't want to be king. And I just think that's, I would have liked to have seen it, the ending of the film, be that Arthur was delighted and he really wanted to be king, but ultimately he doesn't really. I mean, I know Merlin sort of talks him into it and sort of says, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what's going to happen, you're going to rule England, you're going to be a great king. But, you know, he didn't really want to do it. I think that's quite a disappointment. Another negative of the film, which also goes in with a positive, but I'm going to say the negative side on it, the bit with the squirrels. The fact that he says that Merlin says that squirrels mate for life, and then obviously that cute little female squirrel completely falls in love with Arthur as a squirrel, and then he turns it into a human, and she realizes that he is this human, he was never there after all, is really sad. She's a lovely, sweet little thing. And if she really mated for life, was that the one that she decided she was going to mate with, or is she going to find another mate? I mean, because obviously he didn't reciprocate it, but maybe in squirrel minds they do. Maybe they just find someone and say, right, that's it, you're the one I'm mating with, especially as the females. Maybe females pick the males. I don't know a lot about squirrels, but I don't know. I just found that sort of unnecessarily sad. Like, maybe they should have shown her at some point with another male squirrel that she had met and that she was all happy and stuff like that. So I found that quite a sad point of the film, and that I think that really pulled it down for Ben as well. He didn't like that scene in it. However, they're kind of my only real negatives in the film. I find it a really, really fun film, and some positives on it. Archimedes is brilliant, the owl. I'm going to say it again, I know I say it way too much, but he's sassy and I love it. He has so much sass. He's so just done with everything and just, oh, why am I having to get involved? I just want to be just quietly living my life up in this tower, not being bothered by anybody, but you keep dragging me into all these things. But yeah, he has some great lines. Love Archimedes, great character, very positive part of the film. The songs, for another positive, I think it's got some great songs that to and fro, stop and go, that's what makes the world go round. That's fun. Madam Mim's song, I love. I think of the mad Madam Mim. The hockety bockety wockety. Yeah, it's just good songs. They sound like complete nonsense, obviously, but in the context of the film, I suppose they are nonsense. But they're great songs. They got some really fun little songs that get really stuck in your head. Yeah, I just think the songs are really, really good part of the film. Another part, which I sort of touched on there, Madam Mim, I think, is a great character. The Wizard's Duel is brilliant, especially when it results in Merlin just completely destroying her, basically, with a spell, by the fact he made himself into a virus, so it's still a living creature, but, you know, and just makes her ill, so... You won, mate, you won. Brilliant. Very genius thing, but I suppose that's the point, is that he is the better wizard. He definitely is smarter than her. And then finally, just the, actually, the bit with the squirrels, besides the fact that she ends up heartbroken, I think the squirrel scene's really funny. I really enjoy the squirrel scene. I love all the little noises that the squirrels make, but particularly the little sort of, the sort of chubbiest squirrel, I should say, that fancies Merlin as a squirrel. Some of the things she does are brilliant when she goes, or something like that. I can't believe I just did that on the internet. But yeah, I think the fat squirrel and the whole squirrel scene is really, really funny. So they would be my big positives with the film. Okay, so where does it place? Is it as good? I should lean back. Is it as good as Sleeping Beauty or Peter Pan? No, I don't think it is. It's not. It's better than 101 Dalmatians, but I think it's a solid B tier. So, Sword in the Stone goes in at B. So finally, our last film of these 2 decades, the last one of the 1960s, full stop, which is The Jungle Book, obviously an adaptation of the Rudyard Kipling's books, the Rudyard Kipling book of the same name. This, again, was one of my favourites growing up. I remember specifically this was my brother's favourite growing up when we were very small. I think he changed his mind when Aladdin came out and he really, really likes Aladdin, and now he'll probably say something entirely different altogether. But Yeah, I remember this being one that he really liked. I think it was one my dad really liked as well, was The Jungle Book. And I can see why. It's the slightly more masculine of the Disney films. It's a lot more of a sort of, I suppose, boyish energy to it. I suppose because they're in the jungle and they're sort of living in the wild and stuff like that. So there is a kind of more kind of authentic caveman blokiness to it, which is probably why, I think boys kind of liked this one more than some of the other films, definitely probably more than the Disney films, the princess films. I'm always doing that. But I agree, it's a really, really fun film, and I'm going to just go through the cons of it before I go through the pros. So, okay, so I've only got two like proper negatives with the film. The first one is the villain. I would argue that he isn't really a villain. Maybe I'm just being very naive and very straightforward. It is one of my negative traits. Unfortunately, I do find the flaws in the facts of things. He has a damn good reason for why he wants Mowgli dead. He has seen on many occasions the damage that humans do to animals in the jungle with their fires of burning the forest down, the jungle down, I should say, and how they're trying to hunt all the time to kill animals for really no reason a lot of the time in the jungle. But and obviously he's tried to be hunted as he's been hunted as well in the past, and he doesn't want that again. So he wants to get rid of Mowgli, which makes perfect sense. And I just feel that maybe they should have given him a bit of a stronger negative negative reason for being as bad as he is. I just feel his whole reason's quite relatable, like quite understandable. You can see why he would want him dead, to get rid of him before he turns into a full-grown man. So yeah, that'd be a big critique, the fact that I find I sympathise with the villain a little bit too much. But again, that's me being a big animal lover, so I don't know, maybe you see it differently, let me know in the comments. But that would be my first con. The second con is the vultures. I just don't like them. And again, I appreciate that this is just me, this is just my personal opinion, but I just don't. I think it was because it was the 60s, obviously, when this film came out. So they wanted to create characters that were obviously like the Beatles. They have these, if I recall, like Liverpudlian accents like the Beatles. They have the floppy hairstyles like the Beatles. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe because it was in the 60s, the Beatles were obviously cool in the 60s, and now obviously not so much anymore. So it was to be relatable to the teenagers that, was obviously throwing themselves at the Beatles. And that whole we're your friend kind of barbershop quartet depressing song. Usually barbershop quartets are a bit more upbeat, but still. The sort of 4-part harmony song. Ugh. We're your friend, but yet we're going to depress the hell out of you with this really dull song. But yeah, I just think they could get rid of the vultures. I don't see the point of them in the film. Maybe they're more substantial in the book, so they brought them into the film because of that. But no, just not really into it. So the positives of the film, however, they're the only two negatives I can really think of. The positives of the film, Baloo, obviously. Baloo is a great character. His positivity, the way that he just goes through life, just doing whatever makes him feel happy and relaxed and just enjoying his life all the time. I'm here for that. I love that sort of positive energy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not into the whole toxic positive movement or anything like that, but I love a bit of positive energy. I love people that just go through their lives just trying to make things as happy and easy as possible. That's definitely my views on life, to try and make it as happy and easy as possible. So I'm totally with Blue on that. The way he instantly bonds with Mowgli, looks after him. I know obviously Bagheera is a little bit wary of him to begin with, but he knows that he has got Mowgli's best interest at heart, and I think that's really cute. On that note, Bagheera, considering he's a panther, and so obviously he's supposed to be a predator like Shere Khan would be, and I suppose Baloo as well. He's really not. He really does just look after Mowgli all the time. Again, all the sort of friends of Mowgli, especially like his wolf pack and his wolf mum and things like that, it's just the interactions that Mowgli has with them is lovely and really positive for the film, and I really like that. From a more sort of villainous character who I really like is Kaa the Snake. It may be the fact that he has the same voice as Winnie the Pooh. Sterling, it's gone, I can't remember his name, I'll put it up on the screen. But But yeah, so he wants to use his disney stuff. Oh, Winnie the Pooh. But I just, again, I love the fact that he tries to sort of pretend to Mowgli that he's so nice and everything, while ultimately just trying to eat him. And it's like, well, yeah, you know, he's a predator. He's you know, a constrictor, isn't he? So I think he's supposed to be a boa, obviously a boa constrictor or an anaconda or something. I mean, he's massive. He must be an anaconda. I don't know. I can't think. Or is he just? I don't know. I'll look into it. But I just think the character is very quirky. He's got a lot of very amusing characteristics to him. I love his face when he has the whirling eyes. I used to have, I think maybe I went to a party as a kid, and I think I maybe went as Carl the Snake or something. But all I know is that we had a mask at home of Carl's face like that with the eyes cut out so I could see through it. And I don't even remember. I must have been really little because I don't remember which party I went to. But I do remember us constantly having that mask around the house for, you know, just for a bit of a laugh. And it's just his face is brilliant. Yeah, so Carl's a positive factor for me. And then just once again, I'm just going to give a shout out to the songs. The songs in that film are iconic, so memorable. Bare Necessities, I Want to Be Like You. They are iconic Disney songs that just go down in history. People remember them, people know them, they're great, people hear them and they sing along. That's the good example of a fantastic Disney song is the way that it, you know, it's from a film from like 1968, I think it is, but people still know the songs, they still sing the songs. Little kids that have probably never seen The Jungle Book know those songs and will sing those songs. So it's the example of a very good, strong Disney film if it's got a good soundtrack like that people remember the songs to. And then just finally, I like Mowgli's ending. I mean, there's the whole thing that he doesn't want to go and join the man village, even though, you know, it's safer that he does. But ultimately, he has the situation that so many of us have. He sees someone, is totally taken aback by them, and is very, very interested in them, decides, actually, so I'm just in my dog drinking from his, I don't know if you can hear that, but the dog's having a good old drink in the kitchen. But yeah, so the fact that, you know, he sees another human girl, obviously takes a bit of a liking to her, and decides, actually, this human world doesn't really look so bad after all, and off he goes. And I just think it's a very happy, positive ending, and that is why it's one of the best scenes of the bit, that's why I think it's one of the big pros of the film. So with that in mind, I think Jungle Book, again, good couple of decades, is going in at the S tier. I think it's got to. I don't see how it can't. It's just a great film, so I'm leaning right forward in the camera there. So, what are your thoughts on the films from the 1950s and 60s? Do you agree? Do you not agree? Would you have changed them around? Which is your favourite film out of those 8? Let me know in the comments. The next film will be... Next film, I've got to stop doing that. The next video will be going up on Monday. I'm sorry this one went up so late. I did say I didn't know, a busy week this week. So, but yeah, the first one of the part 1 of the Disney films of the 1970s and 80s, which will be the last round, you know, part 1 and 2 of videos that will be 2 decades after that goes into the 90s, and that's going to probably cover quite a few videos in fairness. So that video will be going up on Monday. In the meantime, I hope you have had an amazing week. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!